All right, so this is a DP podcast. Whatever's within the darkness shines within the light, and when you look into the abyss looks back into you. And this is the Dark Podcast. That's what the DP is. All right. So Gods, Titans, Immortals, Gods, Titans, Immortals, Mortals, Demi-Gods, Demi-Goddesses, and Primordials. Yeah. So going into kind of like the difference between gods, goddesses, mortals and immortals, titans, primordials, demigods and demigoddesses. There are, in reference to the previous episode, there is a big difference between the principalities, the archons, the entities, demons, because what happens is that even though they may have possessed a familiar or the idea of a skin suit that can possibly, if created a certain way, like cultivated, it can withstand the basically the essence of the Almighty God within it, meaning that it can harbor or contain a soul with the Almighty God as its core, within its core, the core of that soul, which is how gods are able to incarnate, which is what happens when gods incarnate within a temple, as in a vessel, which is what mortals call a body. Yeah. What happens is that not everyone with the same kind of certain type of features and phenotypes, like skin tone and ether texture, which is what mortals call hair, is a god automatically. Okay, doesn't mean they're a god. Some of them, it doesn't even mean they're mortals. It doesn't mean they're immortal. It doesn't mean any of that shit. The appearance of one's vessel has nothing to do with their validity, certification, and classification at all. It does not. And the reason, not the reason, but the existence, the reality, the real, the truth is that there are there are those who are possessed. There are those who are literally demon incarnates. There are those who are incarnates of entities, principalities and archons, and those are the fallen gods and goddesses. They don't even refer to themselves as goddess and goddesses. They refer to themselves in the streets and the underworld as hoes, thoughts, pimps. Oh yes, pimps. Okay, and then niggas, straight like that. They don't call themselves nothing but that. And no, they believe that's what they actually are. And this ain't got nothing to do with whether you dark skinned or you know what I'm saying, you copper tone, you indigenous or aboriginal, or you a descendant of colonizer. It ain't got nothing to do with that. Because even them trailer park white, white trash, they'll be over there doing they shit, whoop de whoop, and they'll be pimping too, bitching too, hoeing too, be thoughts too, and that's how you know they possessed. They got that spirit. They got them false fallen spirits within them. Okay, because the ones that because alongside with the ones that are synthetic and clone spirits, you have the fallen spirits as well. The ones who did originate from source, who did originate from the Almighty God, but they just chose not to be an ancestor anymore, and they basically snaked out, double sided. They backed the door. Yeah, they instead of backing, instead of backdooring, they went through the back door and they said that they just ain't never came back. And then they try to pull up at the front acting like shit cool. No, it's not. No, it's not. And this is how you know the difference is that in the key perspective is that you ain't got to be from the streets to be street smart. You just got to know what's going on in the streets. You ain't got to be from the hood to know what's going on in the streets. It's like that. So when you know how the underworld works, that's how you know how the natural world works. What mortals refer to as the supernatural, what mortals refer to as the spiritual realm. So when you know how the underworld works, what you basically are aware of is the etheric world, the etheric realms, the etheric dimensions, the dimensions within the mind, basically. So that's why they like to hang out, because they don't go into the soul realm. They don't have a soul. And if they do have a soul, that soul is over there opting out. But we don't let that shit slide, because they're at such a low vibration. They're not even able to access those realms. So then that's where you have the fallen gods and the fallen deities, which are the entities, and the archons. And those are the ones that possess and inhabit a vessel, and they may have been gods that were not fallen at once, or they may be cloned and synthetic ones, but as in like their spirits and minds are, if they're half breeds and hybrids, and half mortal, half immortal, that is, or they're just hijacked, because that's what's happening, is that they're hijacked now, just because they're moving around. And what mortals believe to be called the physical realm does not mean that they are not fallen. So yes, they are gods, but they are not the true ones. They were, but they are not anymore. They're fallen now. So that's why there's a self-importance to never idolize and worship any god, whether they fallen or not, because they're not the almighty God, so they're not the true God. They're just remnants of the true God, reflections of the true God. And one thing with mortals is that they have like sparks of a true soul. They have like shards, like glass. They have remnants. They have like little trinkets of what a true soul is, which was mentioned in the previous episodes. And that's how they're able to kind of tap into what their synthetic spirits or clone spirits, or sometimes even they have earned. Oh, no. So that's how they're able to tap into their spirits, is that through the remnants, the trinkets, like basically the spark of whatever light that they hold within them. That is a reflection of the Almighty God's creation, which is the original soul of the gods. Okay, because the gods did create mortals with a piece of them within, their vessels and temples and whatnot. And that's how they're kind of able to kind of like move around and still like meditate and do like yoga and spiritual practices, and what they believe to be called enlightenment and all that shit. And if they are really and if they do purify themselves and their spirits and whatnot, they can have a little piece of the pie, like a piece of their own type of pie, which is like where they kind of like the Almighty God will recognize that, and they'll allow they'll basically acknowledge them as a benevolent, pure, or just cleansed and sanctified spirit, even though it's synthetic, even though it's artificial, even though it's not a true spirit. They won't ever earn a soul or anything, but their souls will be the sparks of soul fragments, the fragments of the soul that they have within them will allow to be activated and used for their spiritual enlightenment, even though it's artificial. Though they'll never have the connection, but but they may be recognized within the realm of the gods, the soul, the higher dimensions, beyond their existence, their realm of awareness in existence itself. So that's the difference between mortals and immortals. And then there's also demon incarnates, archon incarnates, principality incarnates, entity incarnates, and so forth and so on.